if you're alive in this world and you haven't been experiencing the quickening, I said to someone the other day, the day where you end your day and feel complete because you finished all your work, you'll never have that. And there's always more emails and more things to check, right? So the demand has pressed us into this crazy realm of multitasking, and I think that you start shifting. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So if you're shifting your attention all over the board, your energy is scattered.
Yeah.
So then when you start disconnecting from everybody, your boss, your coworker, the news, your cell phone, your computer, and you start going this way, I think it's into the present moment. Then if where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and you're truly in the present moment, you got a lot of energy to execute. You got a lot of energy to use, and you want to be able to do that eyes open.
The more scattered your energy, the less you have to focus on pushing one thing forward.
That's why people's dreams don't happen, because
too scattered.
There's no look. If you keep putting your attention on some future experience that you are imagining with your mind, your body's going to follow your mind right there, because that's where your energy is. But if you're putting your attention on everything known in your life, the shower, the coffee maker, the toilet, and your body's following your mind every day to the known. But we want your body to follow your mind to the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Enough people get to doing that, and you could do better in creating things in your life. That we see this. Wealthy people in our work that have focused on wealth, some of them living in the back seat of their car, some of them bankrupt that now have multi-million-dollar companies. What do you think they want to do with that money? They want to give it away.
Yeah, give back.
Let me tell you why. Not because of any other reason, is that they now know that they could create more.
Right.
Well, why, if you're abundant, why abundance to me has changed? Abundance means I have more than I need, like way more than I need. So if I have way more than I need and I know how to create it, then take it. I'll create more of it. So now you're no longer holding on in scarcity. You're making a difference. So wealthy people that have created a lot of wealth in this work, they want to give back. They want to make a difference. And I think that that's how we're innately wired. I think we're all innately wired to care for one another, to make a difference. In the living organism, our community, we heal one another. That's what we do.
Right.
We inform one another. We encourage one another. We support one another. We shine for one another, not to outshine another person, to shine to show them they can shine, and that to me is super healthy. So then I'm applauding your success, because I want you to succeed, because you're telling me that if you can do it, I can do it. So there's no longer any separation. I think that's hopeful for the world. Then you start celebrating diversity. Then you're like, wow, you're way different than me. I want to study you, because I want to bring that into who I'm becoming. Yeah, you create a strong community that way.
What are the things that disturb or disconnect our awakening and connection to the divine?
A lot of times when people, they hit that point, they try to reproduce it the same way as we talked about, and you can't. Yeah, you can't do it the same way, because that's redundancy. But also, many times, we have the experience and we start to try. And because trying is matter trying to change matter, and so we're forcing, we're controlling, we're predicting, and then and when we do that, then of course we're in separation, and we're waiting for the event to happen to feel the emotion, right? And I've done that long enough, and it's actually, we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want for something greater to occur, and it takes practice of surrender, right? So that's one element. I also think that our responses emotionally, like let's just say that a person gets connected to the future. They get connected to the energy of their future. They feel it. It's really great. And then they start their day, and then 2 hours later, they're feeling something else because some person or some circumstance altered their state. Well, they just disconnected from the energy of the future, and now they're back to the energy of the past. Don't expect anything to change in your life, because it doesn't work that way. So then when they get back to that old self again, then they say, what's wrong with me? I failed. They didn't do it right. No, that's all the program. You show up again and you go after it again. So familiar feelings cause us to no longer see through the lens of the future. We're seeing through the lens of the past, and we color reality that way. So I think familiar emotions get in the way as well. And then, of course, there's always belief. And a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again until you hardwire it in your brain, and all beliefs are based on past experience. So a person has an experience, the stronger the emotion they have from that circumstance, the more they pay attention to the cause, and the brain freezes a frame, takes a snapshot, and that's called a memory. The moment they draw a conclusion about that experience, they'll think neurologically within those circuits, and they'll feel chemically within the boundaries of emotion. Thinking and feeling, belief becomes an unconscious or subconscious state of being. Most people don't even know they have beliefs about things, about God, about relationships, about money, because it's not a conscious thing, it's a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
So in order to change a belief or a perception about yourself and your life, you got to go all in. It's not like you go 50% in. You got to go all in. You got to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that causes the body to respond to the mind, that the choice that you make becomes a moment in time you'll never forget. And you would say, I remember the moment I made up my mind to change. And the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you'll pay attention to the decision. And that's a huge stone you drop in the quantum field. Big splash, big waves. Your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of all the things you've learned and experienced to this moment. So if you wake up every morning and get out of bed on the same side, shut the alarm clock off with the same finger, shuffle into the bathroom and use the toilet like you always do, go and get a cup of coffee and drink coffee out of your favorite mug, then get in the shower and wash yourself off in the same routine way, drive to work, get to work, see the same people that push the same emotional buttons, do the same things that you've memorized and do so well, then hurry up and go home, and hurry up and check your emails, and hurry up and check your Facebook, and then watch your favorite television show, then hurry up and go to bed. Here's my question. Did your brain change at all that day? We could say that you were thinking the same thoughts, performing the same unconscious actions, living by the same emotions, but secretly expecting your life to change. So there's a principle in neuroscience. And the principle says, nerve cells that fire together wire together. So if you're thinking the same thoughts, making the same choices, demonstrating the same behaviors, reproducing the same experiences that stamp the same networks of neurons into the same patterns, and then produce the same emotions, you're going to hardwire your brain into a very finite signature. Because as you fire and wire the same circuits in the same way, those circuits begin to become more connected. And by the time you're 35 years old, this is science now, we become a set of memorized behaviors, unconscious habits, automatic emotional reactions, beliefs and perceptions, and even attitudes that function just like a computer program. And if you do something over and over and over again, the repetition of those actions over time conditions your body to know how to do it well, better than your mind. And a habit is when your body knows better than your mind, where you've done something so many times that the body now knows how to do it better than the brain. And so 95% of most people's behaviors, attitudes, thoughts, beliefs, emotional reactions are subconscious programs. So why is that important? Because you're here this week to learn new information. And every time you learn something new, you make new connections in your brain. That's what learning is. Learning is forging new synaptic connections. physical evidence as a result of your interaction in the environment. And the footprints of consciousness is called learning, making new connections. And the Nobel Prize laureate Kandel in the year 2000 found that when people learned one bit of information, they doubled the number of connections in their brain from 1,300 connections to 2,600 connections. But if they didn't review that information, if they couldn't repeat it, if they couldn't remember it, those circuits pruned apart in hours or days. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. Your body rejects viruses all the time. Of course. It has memorized certain viruses that you've been exposed to. It has memorized certain bacteria that you've been exposed to. And it's beaten those viruses. Not every virus wins in the body. The body has an intelligence, and it has quite a library of memories in the white blood cells. So your body is fighting viruses and bacteria all the time. There's a constant competition going on.
Really?
So our research shows that 4 days of opening your heart releases immunoglobulin A, your body's primary defense against bacteria and viruses. It's better than the flu shot. It's the body's natural flu shot. And that's the innate intelligence of the body saying, I got this, I got a lot of energy. In fact, I got a surplus of energy. In fact, I'm radiating energy, and now
too much energy.
Outer world. Now my outer world is not controlling my inner world. My inner world now is functioning independent of what's going on in my outer world. And now,
you're manifesting.
Now you got it. Now you're in a creative state.
People are coming to you, yes.
Right, exactly. Now you're a magnet. Now you have a field, right? And you have energy to heal. And our research shows that that field around your body will actually expand. You radiate more light and information. Cells are getting new information that are causing light to be exchanged between cells and information. Now the body's getting an upgrade. So that immunoglobulin A in 4 days went up 50%. So now we know that if it's going up 50%, that then the immune system was getting a new signal. And nitric oxide then causes another chemical to activate the arteries in your heart to swell. And now, just like when energy moves into your sexual organs and it swells with blood and you have energy there, the same intensity it moves into your heart. And now the heart is activated. And what do you feel? You feel an incredible amount of love. Yeah, and love. You feel whole. And now the more whole you feel, our research shows, then the less separate you feel from the things you want in your life, because you feel like you already have them. You only want things when you're in lack. But when you feel whole, then it feels like it's already happened. And that tends to be the exact emotion that causes those synchronicities and serendipities and coincidences to happen in our life. And you say to a person, what are you doing? And they're saying, I'm not doing anything. I'm just so
loving
happy.
Life. I'm being myself.
Right. I'm free from the past. I'm free from my story of the past. In fact, I'm more connected to the energy of my future than I am to the energy of my past. I think that if we share the same experiences, because we like the same things, we share the same emotions. And if we share the same experiences, we share the same emotions, I can relate to you, so we can exchange ideas and information. Yeah. And if we share the same energy, energy is information. So many people, as an example, they use each other to reaffirm their dependency on suffering. So I suffer more than you say I suffer, you suffer more than me. We have this thing, we just complain with each other. Well, that's the same resonance, the same frequency, and there's a match, right? But it goes to the same means if you're someone has a accountability partner that you exchange ideas like this with, and it's a different frequency and different energy. So when energy comes together and it's constructive, something comes out of it. You feel it, right? And you feel an elevation. If there's dissonance, then your sensing meter is how you feel about that person, many times in your gut or in your heart or wherever, and there's destructive interference, and there's no energy involved. So I think that's just a practice, but really the ultimate mastery is to be able to be in such resonance, such coherence, that when you walk in the room, that you raise everybody's energy, and you don't let your energy drop because of any circumstance or any condition, then that would be greater than your environment, right? And that's the model that we use. So imagine 1,500 people in an event where everybody's getting super coherent, and the interference that's going on in the room is creating these high amplitudes. Now, we've measured that in the room, and the energy in the room is off the chart many times. There's energy for healing in there. There's energy for all kinds of things that can happen. So we brought it to life with our awareness. And so the more elevated the emotion, love, gratitude, freedom, bliss, ecstasy, the higher the frequency. So, but it turns out you can have a collective group of people with a lot of energy and be incoherent, and it creates entropy.
Yeah.
You could have a smaller group of people that are highly coherent and put out a very big signal. So when we see a collective really get coherent, wow, the energy in the room opens up doors of possibilities that I would never expect. I mean, I don't know how to explain some of the phenomenological things that happen. But that's everybody's divine. Like everybody's in that state. They're in that elevated state. So I think our truth meter is really whether we feel lifted or we feel like we've been robbed. If you are not defined by some vision that is bigger than you, and you are not passionate about that vision, then you're left with the old hardware of the past in your brain, and you will be predictable in your life. So would you agree then? New thoughts, new information should lead to new choices. New choices should lead to new behaviors. And new behaviors should create new experiences. And new experiences should produce new emotions. And those new emotions should drive new thoughts. And that's called evolution. So if your brain is a record of the past, and you don't have a vision of the future, then you are living in the past. And you will never arrive at that new future. If you have been if you had experience of trauma, say, for example, and it's created the feeling of fear, and your fear is that it could happen again. And you don't know this, but every time you think about that future, that possible worst case scenario, and you feel the emotion, you're conditioning your body to become the mind subconsciously of anxiety. So now, all you need now is some cue in your outer environment that says it's unsafe. That there's damage there, that you're a victim, something's bigger than you that could have an effect on you. Well, now that feeling of fear is going to cause you to think thoughts equal to it. So the person then no longer needs the environment to feel that fear. They just have to have the thought about that condition now. And now they're literally knocking their brain and body out of balance by thought alone, and the body's constantly living in emergency mode. And it takes a lot of energy, a lot of resources to live in emergency mode all the time. And guess what system becomes compromised by it?
Immune system.
Your immune system. Why? Because you have two protection systems. You got a system that protects you from dangers in your outer world. That's the gas pedal. That's the sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight or flight nervous system. Danger, threat out there. Use all the energy because you gotta survive. And when you survive, you gotta take care of your body. So now that system can work really well short term. It doesn't work really well if you keep it on all the time. Because if you're mobilizing all that energy for some threat in your outer world, there's no energy in your inner world for growth and repair. There's no energy for long-term building projects. And energy leaves the brain and it leaves the heart, and it moves into these lower centers because now you're tapping the body's resources because there is an emergency. But whether the emergency is real or imagined, whether your anger is valid or justified or not, you're tapping the body's very energy to heal by doing this. And the immune system says, well, we're part of really the other nervous system. We're the brake, we're the clutch. We need to get into relaxation. We need to get back into balance again. And when we do, then we'll metabolize, then we'll assimilate, we'll reproduce, we'll excrete properly. So now you got this kind of battle between the gas pedal and the brake, and the immune system says, hey, listen, If there's foreign agents, if there's viruses, bacteria, molds, funguses, listen, we don't have a whole lot of energy here to deal with them because we're fighting this war out there. There's no homeland security. So they shut down certain receptors in the immune system. They shut down function of those lymphocytes, those white blood cells that are your inner army of protection. And it takes a lot of energy to fight a virus and a bacteria. But if there's no energy, hey, listen, it takes energy to raise the body's temperature. Where do you think that comes from? That's part of that branch called the autonomic nervous system. And the sympathetic, the gas pedal, is part of it. And the parasympathetic is the clutch, is part of that autonomic nervous system. And it's a check and balance. But so you stay in emergency for an extended period of time, and now you're exposed to some antigen or some external substance, some foreign agent,